In a quiet suburban neighborhood, a disabled veteran built a simple ramp to her front door, a ramp she needed just to live her life. But when the HOA's Karen decided it was an eyesore, she tried to fine her into silence. What she didn't know was that justice lived just one phone call away. It started on a warm spring morning in Oak Ridge Estates, the kind of neighborhood where lawns were trimmed to perfection and the HOA president ruled like a queen. Her name was Karen Dalton. Everyone knew her, and most people avoided her. But across the street lived someone she couldn't intimidate. A retired Army medic named Sergeant Melissa Hayes, who had returned from service with strength in her heart and wheels beneath her. Melissa didn't want pity. She wanted peace. She'd bought her little beige house with a white porch because it felt like freedom, until Karen decided her wheelchair ramp didn't meet neighborhood standards. What began as a letter in the mailbox was about to turn into a war of pride, pain, and justice that no one in Oak Ridge would ever forget. In the heart of suburban Virginia, just 30 minutes outside Washington, D.C., lay a gated community called Oak Ridge Estates, where the grass was always green, the mailboxes were identical, and the HOA meetings were more feared than hurricanes. On the surface, Oak Ridge looked peaceful. But beneath the calm was a quiet tension, the kind that lived behind manicured hedges and forced smiles. And at the center of it all stood Karen Dalton, the self-appointed queen of order and the president of the HOA for nearly a decade. She ran the neighborhood with iron rules and plastic smiles. Across the street from her, a new homeowner had just moved in, Sergeant Melissa Hayes, a retired Army medic. Melissa was 42, sharp-eyed, and carried the quiet dignity of someone who had seen too much. A combat injury had left her partially paralyzed, but her spirit was stronger than ever. She'd bought her single-story home in Oak Ridge because it offered wide sidewalks, friendly neighbors, and what she hoped would be a peaceful place to heal. Her brother, Daniel Hayes, had helped her install a custom-built wheelchair ramp, white oak, matching the house's trim, perfectly aligned with safety codes. It wasn't fancy, just functional. But 2 days later, a letter arrived. Notice of violation, unauthorized modification to property exterior. The signature at the bottom read, Karen Dalton, HOA President. Melissa rolled up to Karen's house that evening, calm and polite. Karen opened the door in her usual pastel sweater and pearls, her smile stretched thin. "Oh, Melissa," she said sweetly. "I didn't expect you to take the letter so personally. It's just procedure." "Procedure?" Melissa asked. "It's a wheelchair ramp. It's not a swimming pool." Karen tilted her head. "Our community has aesthetic standards. You could have applied for approval." "Approval to access my own front door?" Karen sighed, her voice dipping into that tone that sounded kind but carried venom underneath. "Rules are rules. We can't make exceptions for everyone." Melissa nodded slowly. "Everyone? Or just me?" Karen's eyes flickered. That was the moment the line was drawn. Over the next week, 3 more letters arrived. Each one carried a fine. $100, then $250, then $500. Melissa tried to appeal through the HOA board, but the meetings were dominated by Karen and her loyal clique, mostly older residents who never questioned her authority. One man, Mr. Alvarez, an older neighbor, tried to speak up during a meeting. "She's a veteran, Karen. She served this country. That ramp's the least she deserves." Karen smiled coldly. "And we appreciate her service, truly. But HOA rules apply to everyone. Even heroes." Gasps filled the room. Melissa kept her composure, though inside she burned. After the meeting, she quietly packed the letters, the fines, and every piece of correspondence into a binder. "You want to play by the rules," she whispered to herself. "Then let's play." Melissa spent the next few days researching local accessibility laws, federal ADA protections, and HOA guidelines. What she discovered shocked her. HOA boards cannot legally restrict or fine homeowners for installing accessibility modifications if they're medically necessary. She called the HOA's regional office. "Ma'am, they fined you for a wheelchair ramp," the representative asked. "That's not just wrong. That's illegal." But Melissa didn't lash out. She didn't post on social media. She waited. Because she knew the best revenge wasn't loud, it was legal. A month later, Karen received something she never expected. A summons. Melissa had filed a disability discrimination and harassment complaint against the Oak Ridge Estates HOA. Karen laughed when she saw it. "She's bluffing," she told the board. "These cases never go anywhere." But when the court date arrived, the laughter faded. The courtroom was modest, just a county courthouse with pale walls and fluorescent lights. Melissa sat at the plaintiff's table, calm, professional, her attorney beside her. Karen sat opposite, clutching a stack of HOA documents and whispering to her lawyer. Then the bailiff announced, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Daniel Hayes." Karen froze. Her head snapped toward Melissa, whose lips curved into the smallest, calmest smile. "Good morning," the judge said as he took his seat. His tone was professional, unreadable. Karen's lawyer whispered, "Conflict of interest. He's related to the plaintiff." Daniel looked at them evenly. "You're right. I won't be presiding, but I was asked to introduce this case on behalf of the court. A colleague will handle the trial." The implication was clear. The entire courthouse staff already knew about the complaint, and they were taking it seriously. During the hearing, Melissa's lawyer presented every letter, every photo, every fine. "This," the attorney said, holding up a notice, "is a violation of federal accessibility law. The HOA imposed fines for a medical necessity. That's not just unethical, it's unlawful." The defense fumbled. Karen's smugness melted into panic. She tried to speak for herself. "I was just enforcing the rules." The opposing lawyer turned to her calmly. "Ma'am, do those rules include targeting disabled residents?" Silence. The room felt heavier than air. The judge ruled in Melissa's favor, full reimbursement for fines, plus damages for emotional distress. The HOA was ordered to issue a public apology and undergo ADA compliance training. News of the case spread across the local community. HOA fined disabled veteran, loses in court. Karen stepped down from her position a week later. Her friends on the board vanished one by one. Melissa didn't celebrate. She simply rolled up her ramp, paused at the top, and looked out over the quiet street. "It wasn't about winning," she said softly. "It was about reminding them what fairness looks like." Months later, on Veterans Day, the HOA invited her back to speak at the community center. She hesitated at first, but then agreed. Standing before a small crowd, Melissa spoke not as a victim, but as a neighbor. "A community isn't about fences or flower beds," she said. "It's about understanding who lives beside you, and making room for them." The crowd applauded. Even Karen, sitting quietly at the back, looked down, humbled. The ramp stayed, freshly painted white, with a small plaque near the base. It read, "Freedom has many forms. Sometimes, it's just a way to get home."